Unfortunately, this is going to be our last day here in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Sevierville area. It's been a great, we've been here more than a week now, but it's been a great time that we've had here, and we've experienced all kind of weather conditions, from it's snowing to being super hot. It's been kind of wild. We've got to see a lot of museums, and we've got to talk about a lot of different things. But Amy and I both have work coming up in the near future, so we have to end this trip. And unfortunately, our romantic getaway we've had has got to come to an end. Before we wake up tomorrow morning, though, and we pack our bags and we clean up the cabin and we hit the road, we got about an 8-hour ride home tomorrow. We wanted to spend this last day here in town doing some shopping and buying some souvenirs for our kids and our families and all of that good stuff. And one of the places that we're gonna go shop today, well, a tragic event occurred there just a couple of years ago now that wound up taking the lives of 2 people, one of which was the perpetrator here of this story. And then another man was severely wounded during this act. So while we're out shopping today, we're gonna head right around the corner to the Tanger Outlets here in Sevierville, Tennessee. And I'm gonna talk about the 2019 shooting that went down there by Leon Jones Jr. On April the 16th of 2019, it was an absolutely beautiful day here in Sevierville, Tennessee, much like it is today. It's absolutely gorgeous out. It was about 80 degrees that day, and it was very sunny. And because the weather was so nice, everyone was outside enjoying the weather, doing sightseeing and shopping and all that good stuff, just enjoying the day. The Sevierville Tanger Outlets here was pretty much packed, and everyone was just having fun, and they were spending their hard-earned money, until all of a sudden, right around 3:45 p.m., when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, shots rang out through the entire shopping complex.
Oh, they're just looking at the... What are they doing? Oh, these people are running for a reason, hon. They're running for their life, for Christ's sake.
Something's going down in front of one of the stores down yonder. It's like 3 police cars and officers standing around. I don't know what that's about. Because the sound of the firearm echoed throughout the complex, shoppers had no clue where they came from. So like everyone in the Tanger Outlets panicked, and they started running to their vehicles and hiding behind pillars, and they started fleeing for their lives. It was just absolute chaos there for a few minutes. At 3:49 p.m., the Sevierville 911 dispatch center got bombarded with shots fired calls from hundreds of people who were hiding or fleeing the complex.
Where's your emergency?
I'm at the Tanger Outlets, and I was at the coach where someone just got shot twice.
We just locked the doors and pulled the customers to the back. I did not see anything, no.
Lock the doors.
We got 2 people shot. It's a male and a female.
Where's your emergency?
There's somebody been shot at the Tanger Outlet Center.
Somebody was shot at Tanger?
Where's your emergency?
Hi, I'm located at American Eagle at 1645 1320. The man just shot himself outside of my store. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
The Sevierville Police Department dispatched their officers, and police officers descended onto the property in numbers, and they were coming from all over.
Give me the channel, I'm catching up.
Now, the police officers who were coming here, all they got was a shots fired call. They really didn't know fully what to expect when they got here. So once officers arrive on scene, they pretty much just kind of first they have to ride around until they see where a commotion is at, and then they can stop and start trying to figure out what happened. So as the officers get here, they're flagged down by some bystanders who are standing right in front of the Coach and American Eagle stores. Now, by this time, it's taken a moment or two for the officers to get here, so a crowd has gathered. But once the officers get out of their cars, they immediately notice that there is a man and a woman laying on the ground, and there's blood all over the ground underneath them. Those first officers, they immediately call for an ambulance, and they head over to those crowds to not only help those people that's on the ground, but they also want to find out where the shooter is the threat over with. And as soon as the officers get up onto the walkway, they ask, where's the shooter? And the crowd starts pointing to the male that is laying on the ground, and they say, that's the shooter there.
Yeah, that one probably DOA. This looks like a murder-suicide.
The shooter is down. We don't know of any other shooters at this time. Stand by.
The crowd tells the officers that after he shot the other people, he then shot himself, and he fell to the ground, and one of the bystanders picked up the firearm, and then they handed that firearm to the police officers as they were telling them this story.
All I could tell was he was a black male. He was unconscious on the floor, face down, blood, and the gun was outside of his hand. 3 shots were fired.
Okay, do you know, you said 3 shots?
Amidst this conversation, the bystanders wind up telling this officer that there is another man shot. It's just that after he got shot, he managed to make his way into the American Eagle store trying to get to safety.
There was actually a man sitting beside of him on the bench who got shot as well. He's now inside of our store, but he is bleeding. He was shot in the chest at some point. He is conscious and upright, and we are applying pressure, but he's an older gentleman, and he needs immediate medical attention.
So now that the officers know that the shooter is down and the threat is eliminated, they immediately switch into rescue mode, and they go to start trying to render aid to the woman that's on the ground. And it's then that they discovered that this woman, 24-year-old Olivia Cunningham, was already deceased. So they turn around and they go over to the male, who's also laying on the ground. It was the guy that the bystanders said was the shooter. And the officers discover that that suspect, 21-year-old Leon Stephen Jones Jr., was also deceased. And it's at this point that the paramedics arrive here on scene. And they're able to go into the American Eagle and get the guy who was in there, who had been shot. He had been shot in the chest, but he was still alive. He was 75-year-old John Marr. They're able to get him, load him up in the ambulance, and get him to a hospital, and he managed to survive. He's still alive to this day.
75-year-old white male, gunshot wounds in the right chest area.
The police officers then, they immediately start trying to talk to witnesses, and they start looking for evidence, and they're trying to put all the pieces together when they find out that the shooter was here with a girl who was his girlfriend. She wasn't involved in the shooting, but she was here, and she's still here, and she didn't even know that he was carrying a weapon, much less that he was going to kill someone and then himself. But she did witness the entire thing, and she was still here on scene. So they take this girl down to the police station, and they start getting, you know, her version of events as to what happened, and they finally learn what went down.
Can you tell me what happened?
She's crazy.
Okay, tell me what led up to this.
I mean, I've already talked him out of it twice. Like, he's not happy. He doesn't want to be here. Like, it's literally just, he just didn't want to be here.
Okay,
I don't know why he shot them. I don't know why.
What led up to this?
He literally, he was drinking all day, and then he just told me that he can't be with me, that he's not happy, and that was really it. He was like, I've already done this. He's like, I've already done this once, and I talked him out of it the first time, and like, we were fine. Like, we've been fine. It's just, he's just been drinking a lot lately.
Was there an argument or an incident?
He was standing at my car the whole time, and then he just came up there and shot her, and then shot that old man, and then shot himself in the head.
Leon Jones Jr.'s girlfriend told those investigators that she and Leon drove to the Tanger Outlets early that day to do some shopping. The girlfriend was driving the car, and somewhere along the ride on their way to the Tanger Outlets, an argument broke out between the two of them. So she pulls in to the parking lot out in front of the Coach and American Eagle stores, and after they park, the argument between the two of them, it continues for several minutes. They're just sitting in the car and arguing. Now, Leon Jones Jr., he had expressed some suicidal thoughts before, but he had never acted on them. So during this argument, when he said something to that nature, it wasn't taken seriously by the girlfriend. The girlfriend did not even know that he had a weapon, much less one on them that he could use to do this. So they're parked and they're arguing, and Leon makes a statement as to, like, he's going to take a few people down with him. And all of a sudden, Leon just hops out of the car, slams the door, and he starts walking towards the Coach store. Once he reaches the doors, he has a chance encounter with Olivia Cunningham. She's exiting the Coach store. And at the same time, John Marr is walking down the breezeway, like towards them. And Leon Jones Jr. decides to, I guess, go through with it. So in a split second there, he pulls a small, like, Kel-Tec 32 caliber pistol out of his pocket. And these guns are really small. They're easily concealed in your pocket, and no one would ever know that you had it. So he pulls it, and he fires 2 shots in their direction. One striking Olivia, killing her instantly, and the other striking John Marr in the chest. Now, once John Marr got hit, he managed to make his way inside the American Eagle, hoping to be out of any other line of fire. And Leon, he was standing there, and he would have seen Olivia fall down on the ground dead, and he would have seen the bullet hit John Marr and then him run into the American Eagle. And he's just standing there. And it's at that point that, you know, people have called 911. And so officers from down the street, they're already heading this direction. So off in the distance, he can hear the sirens from these police officers as they're headed this way. And it's at this point that he apparently realizes that there's no going back now. And Leon turns the gun on himself, and he fires a 3rd round, killing himself instantly. Investigators quickly deduce that this was just completely random. Leon did not know either of the 2 victims, and neither of the victims knew him. And after gathering all of the evidence and talking to all of his family and friends, they pretty much close the case, and they say that the suspect here, Leon Jones Jr., in their report, they say that he suffered from mental health issues, which led to this horrible tragedy. They also noted that even though his friends and family suspected Leon's mental health wasn't normal, that he never sought any help or was forced to get any help. He never had any kind of checkup. And so his mental health just, I guess, continued to decline. No one else has been charged in this case, and it's unlikely that they will. They really don't believe the girlfriend had anything to do with it. They believe her when she says she did not know it was going to happen. She didn't know that he even had a gun on him. Even the police, they have no clue where he got the firearm from, because he was a convicted felon, so he couldn't legally buy one. And it wasn't like he had done anything bad. In fact, his entire, like, criminal history, none of it was to violence against people. It was all, you know, theft of property and burglary and those type things. So they have no idea how he got it. All they can say is that he had mental health problems, which led to him killing Olivia Cunningham and himself, and then wounding John Marr. It's an unfortunate, tragic, you know, set of events that took place here, between him not getting help for some kind of mental illness, and him and the girlfriend arguing that day, and him having the gun on him that day. It's a tragic list of events that took place that led to this. And unfortunately for Olivia Cunningham's family, there will never be a trial. You know, this guy is dead, so it just kind of stopped, and it's just kind of like over with now, and there's nothing else they can do. That is it for today here in the story of the 2019 Tanger Outlets shooting here in Sevierville, Tennessee. If you or someone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please call the number on the screen. There's no need for any more loss of life. You know, we talk about it all the time here on this channel in these stories that I tell. There is so much unnecessary loss of life. It's saddening. It really is. So if you are having thoughts like the guy in the story, Leon, or if you know someone who has had thoughts like that, please talk to them, get them in touch with somebody, or call the number that's on the screen below. And just that's all it takes. Just talk to someone. It could save a life. I tried to keep this one pretty short because, well, we got to get packed up and we're getting on the road, and I didn't want this to be a long, drawn-out story, but, you know, I thought maybe you guys might find this interesting. That's going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, go down, hit that subscribe button, then hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. If you're interested in helping support the channel, you can check out the links down in the description box below. That's much appreciated. Thank you all. I will see you again tomorrow. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Much love to you all.